Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. This is a big old movie.
It is. This big old movie never stops.
And at the time, the most expensive movie ever made.
There is money on the screen.
Moving at a great pace that not only navigates the mythology, character complexity, and some sweet, sweet ship-on-ship action.
It takes everything from the first one, and it is literally cranked up to 11. They don't make them like they used to.
The love and betrayal, it's at the core of this entire trilogy, and it's made best by the themes of Davy Jones and Teotihuacan Calypso. At its core, these stupid movies are love stories.
And I'm here for it.
The final act in this movie.
You're probably just going to be like, this is cinema. It's cinema.
Literally, man, one of my favorite final acts in all of fiction. It's a combination of action, set design, character work, mythology, story. Is it a masterpiece like the first one? Or is it merely a sinking ship? All right. I've got the Falcon. Deal's done. Let's go.
You be the cur that led these wolves to our door.
We'll come back to that. Listen, I'm just gonna come out and say it. This dude's standing in a bucket. We're all thinking it. I'm the only one brave enough to ask. Who carried him out here? I know it wasn't Mr. Short King here. It wasn't you, was it?
He was merely the tool of your betrayal.
Tool. Hit the nail on the head with that one, didn't he?
There's a pathway. A bucket. I didn't carry him.
Oh, I gotcha. But who carried the buckets up here? It's gotta be one of those fish guys, right? I mean, look at them. They're so crusty.
Your debt to me is still to be satisfied.
Would someone just answer the bucket question?
100 years in servitude aboard the Dutchman. As a start.
I propose an exchange.
Done.
Undone?
Done.
I'll go back for him. Okay, just...
Do you fear death?
You could have just said it was the hammerhead shark guy that brought your buckets.
And welcome back to Beyond the Dune Sea, a show where we occasionally will hoist the colors, weigh anchor, and sail out past that galaxy far, far away and into that new horizon. My name is Connor.
And I'm Seth.
Aye, do you hear that?
Aye, the song has been sung. Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah, okay. I've seen this.
I was like, I remember this one because like this like pumped you up.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't you remember the hype of this movie?
Oh, yeah.
It was like,
I've watched this one in theaters.
fetch back witty Jack. So good. It's so good. And again, look at this imagery. Like
It's got that classic late 2000s trailer where they're doing that like speed ramping and stuff.
Yes.
It spoils so much.
It does. It's insane.
So much.
It is insane. It just like
None of this is in the movie, right?
that was.
No, there's dialogue.
Oh, yes. No, I don't. That talk. Yes. One of you succeeded.
I do remember that in the trailer.
Yes. It's just, oh man, like it just, this pumps you up.
The pirate lords from the four corners of the earth. Welcome to Singapore. Must stand together. There's not been a gathering.
This is the one where they're fighting with the swords at the end with the music, right? Where it's like ching, 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 ching.
I think so.
I think that's coming up.
Keep telling yourself that, darling.
You know how we keep talking about like Indiana Jones's hat? I think like Jack Sparrow, he's got a good hat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Dude, how insane is that?
This right here, man.
Yes, this is what I was talking about. boats flying, people kissing. Like, it just is insane. I mean, like, this is insane.
Dude, this shot right here.
And then going with the music. It's like, how do you not watch that? How do you not go?
Like, they spoil Captain Turner there.
Yeah.
You're mad.
If I wasn't, this would probably never work.
Dude, this is a great trailer.
It's insane. And also teasing the Jack being part of the crew. Like, yeah, oh wait, isn't there something after the credits? I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think they started doing that till like
Okay.
the MCU era.
Gotcha.
Dude, good stuff.
Yes, that's a good trailer.
So, okay. Now, after watching that, I have a question.
Okay.
I don't know if this is a Mandela effect thing. But when they arrive into Shipwreck Cove and Barbossa's like, there's not been a meeting like this in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And Jack says, and I owe them all money.
Yeah.
I swear that he said something to the effect of, in neither of mine. Because there's not been a gathering like this in our lifetime.
Gotcha.
And neither of mine. I swear that that's what he said.
No, I was going to say, I've always remembered it being an I owe them all money. Because that's in another trailer.
When I was rewatching this movie, I was like waiting for that line because that's one of the lines I remember. And I'm like, that's what, I swear that's what he said. I don't know. Crazy. So, okay. Here we have Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. The release date, May 25th, 2007, directed once again by Gore Verbinski. Writers returning again are Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. Produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. Cinematography by Darius Wolski. Music, Hans Zimmer. It's a long one. It's 169 minutes. You know what the box office was? Dang near $1 billion. Back in 2007, hot dang. 960 million plus worldwide. And of course, it's starring Johnny Depp as Captain Jack, Orlando Bloom as Will Turner, Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Swann, Jeffrey Rush returns as Captain Hector Barbossa.
Important.
Bill Nighy as Davy Jones, Tom Holland as Lord Cutler Beckett.
Hey everyone, it's me, Tom Holland.
Jack Davenport returns as Admiral James Norrington. Kevin McNally, Joshua M. Gibbs, Naomi Harris as Tia Dalma, and spoiler alert, Calypso. Stellan Skarsgård returns as Bootstrap Bill. Chow Yun-Fat as Captain Salfang. Jonathan Pryce as Governor Weatherby Swan. Keith Richards as Captain Teague. And Lee Arnenberg and Mackenzie Crook as Pentel and Ragetti. So quite it's a big cast.
It is.
It's a big old movie.
It is. This big old movie never stops.
Gentlemen, Seth.
Hi.
The time has come to finally pass judgment on what should be the finale. I know there are two other movies, but the finale of this story, Pirates of the Caribbean Outworlds. And is it a masterpiece like the first one? Or is it merely a sinking ship like we came to the conclusion last week? I'm going to leave that up to you guys, and maybe we'll find that answer ourselves along the way. And as always, in the Beyond the Dune Sea fashion, hit me 1 minute review, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Connor, class. I'll be real. I feel like this movie's kind of a mess, but I love it nonetheless. And I feel like that they do a good job of culminating to that final third act. And I feel like that lots of stuff happens in this movie, all leading up to that third act. And then finally everything it all does come loose during that, during the fight in the Maelstrom. But it's just getting to that third act is tough, but not as tough as Dead Man's Chest.
Interesting.
And I think too that it's got the charm back from the first one. And that's really important to me.
Okay.
It has a lot of that charm. And I like that there's a lot of payoffs in this movie that the last one set up. So I don't love this one like I love the first one, but I definitely like it more than Dead Man's Chest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So without saying too much, that's where I stand.
Gotcha.
We'll see if maybe chat or you could change my mind.
Okay. Curse of the Black Pearl was exactly as I remembered it. Probably because I revisit that one quite often.
It's a good flick.
Perfect swashbuckling action adventure film with little supernatural twist. Dead Man's Chest, however, did not live up to my mind's eye and fell pretty flat for me last week, especially, in several places. And I'll be real, made me real nervous to watch this movie because at least I thought I held this movie in pretty high regard. I remember really loving it as a kid. And I also remember really loving Dead Man's Chest. So I was not sure going into this how I would feel. Like last week, my conclusions have kind of surprised me. And I've given this a lot of thought. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, in my opinion, is a masterpiece.
Wow.
It is my favorite in the franchise.
What?
It is my favorite.
You like this movie more than what?
My 1 minute review. Hush. This is a film that knows exactly what kind of movie it is. It's a swashbuckling action adventure film that leans heavier into the mythological themes, but it's still grounded in a very complex web of character motivations, twists, and betrayals. And in my opinion, after rewatching both films, Dead Man's Chest is almost this. But it's bogged down by like an overly long script and that horrible pacing that we talked about last week. We don't need to relitigate it. At World's End, I think, perfects this by keeping the story long and grandiose, still, like the last one, but moving at a great pace that not only navigates the mythology, character complexity, and some sweet, sweet ship-on-ship action that you get all throughout this. Because, remember last week, you don't get a really good ship battle until like the end.
You don't even get a really good fight until like the end.
No, you don't get anything, right? No. It's just a dramatic setup for this movie. And the final act in this movie, and this is really where I was nervous because I remember this most of all. It's still one of my favorite final acts in all of fiction. And I don't say that lightly. It's brilliant. It's a combination of action, set design, character work, mythology, story. I have not seen a movie stick the landing like this, really, except for something like Return of the King, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi. Like that kind of concludes my 1 minute review. But go ahead, before I finish up, go ahead.
Do you think, though, that in the writer's room after the first movie, they were like, what are we going to do for a second one? And they thought of this third act.
Yes.
And then they go, how do we get to this third act?
Yeah, I completely think so.
I legitimately thought that while watching this movie.
I think the reason why this movie has so much sauce is because keep in mind, it's the same screenwriters.
Yeah.
So why did they falter so much in the second movie? I think after the first one, they came up with all these great ideas, but Disney was like, no, it's got to be a trilogy at this point.
Yeah.
Stretch out a second movie, do what you got to do. So they put some of their good ideas in there, like Davy Jones and the Flying Dutchman, but they had to, really pull it apart. When you pull something apart too long, it starts to break and you start to see holes and it starts to rip. And that's where you get Cannibal Island. That's where you get...
starts to take on water, if you will.
It does.
Yeah.
I want to address the allegations before they start coming to me, because I know you're thinking it already. Do I think this is better than Curse of the Black Pearl? Let me throw an obscure reference out to you because this is difficult for me to answer.
I hope it's not Breaking Bad.
No, not this time. It's BioShock, actually. You familiar with that franchise?
The one like submarine guys with like the drill arms.
Yeah, it's 2.
Okay.
I'm actually talking about the other 2. So there's 3. There's BioShock 1, BioShock 2, and BioShock Infinite.
Gotcha.
Stay with me.
All
If you guys at home have played these games, I'll get there. All right. Let's see how it connects. BioShock 1 is a simple game in concept. It's kind of got some horror elements. It's a first-person shooter, but the story is really simple. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it's a great story, but it's got just an amazing twist at the end. But the twist is simple. And so you come away with being like, wow, that was really cool. But you don't need to go online, look up a bunch of things. You come away with just a great kind of mind-blowing experience by the end of it.
Okay.
BioShock Infinite builds in every way on that game and the first 2 games in terms of gameplay and everything. But the twist at the end of that game is like a rethink your life kind of twist. Like I spent 45 minutes, I remember so clearly after I finished this game, looking it up online and being like, what was happening? That was amazing. I can't believe that they set this up this whole time. In my opinion, that's how Curse and At World's End is. Curse of the Black Pearl is a simple movie in all of the best ways. That is not an insult. That's a compliment in every way I can give it. It's a simple movie. And because it's a simple movie, there's less room for error. At World's End is an incredibly complicated movie.
Super complicated.
And there's a lot more room to falter. And so while I don't think it's quite as perfect, I do think it reaches greater heights, even if it doesn't maintain the greater heights like Curse of the Black Pearl does. Does that make sense?
I feel like that you're saying that like it's S-class, but in a different way that Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl is S-class.
Curse of the Black Pearl is this.
Yeah.
It's good the whole time.
Yeah.
In my opinion, World's End is this, but it dips on occasion.
Yeah.
But it does, I think, reach higher highs.
Okay.
So Curse is probably the better movie at the end of the day.
Kind of like
At World's End is my favorite of the
kind of
franchise.
kind of like how you feel about A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith. They're like
how
A New
I feel
Hope is
it's more akin to how I feel about Empire and A New Hope, probably.
okay. Gotcha.
But yes.
That like Empire has its dips, but it is more epic than A New Hope. While A New Hope is
I think
consistent all across the board.
Empire is probably a better movie altogether than A World's End, but yes, that's kind of what
That's all I'm saying. I'm not like comparing
So, okay, well, we're kind of at odds a little bit, so this will be kind of interesting. Not quite, I mean, you just don't feel as strongly as I do, I'll say.
I think this should have been a TV show or something.
Really?
Oh,
No,
dude,
this is a blockbuster movie.
A 4-part TV series. I think this paved the way for Game of Thrones.
Maybe in today's day and age, but I think this was best experience.
2007, and then we're like, then it's crazy. This is right before the birth of the MCU. It's weird to think about.
That is true.
Yeah.
The thesis for today is kind of, conclusions matter. A great setup, strong themes. They really don't mean anything unless the story can stick that landing. And yet, in my opinion, I think against all odds, this movie does stick the landing. It delivers one of the best final acts, in my opinion, in blockbuster history. Mm-hmm. So would you agree with that, or you just? It
has literally 2 movies built up to this, and I do have fun during it. So yeah, I could agree with that.
Okay.
It's pretty epic. I mean, that's what you remember of these movies, isn't it? Is the battle in the Maelstrom.
Yeah.
That imagery of just 2 boats going out there.
That is what I remembered the most, but I found myself really enjoying everything leading up to it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
The interweaving and stuff. I think that there's a key to this movie, and we'll get to it in a little bit, to kind of unlocking your enjoyment, if you will, because I think that people can get hung up. Like, I was reading a lot of reviews both ways where people were like, I hate this movie, I love this movie. And there seemed to be a common thread with the people who don't like it. They don't understand character motivations, and like things get too complicated with what is this guy doing? What's this guy doing? What is she doing?
Quite complicated for a blockbuster movie.
It is.
I think
there's something to unlock there that, in my opinion, enhances the enjoyment. And I guess we can talk about that in a bit, because in order to really dissect this movie, as we just said, it's a tapestry woven with characters and themes and plots and all these things that really tightly bound.
It's moving at a breakneck speed where characters are changing their motivations literally on a coin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that we need to release this movie from its bonds.
It's physical embodiment.
Maybe we should gather 9 pieces of 8 of our own.
9 pieces of 8.
See what happens by the end of it. Maybe we can crack open what this movie really is. And the first one, I think I'll present here, the Aztec gold, where everything kind of started. But this time, in the beginning of this movie, piracy is coming to an end in a really dark scene.
Very much so.
This movie starts by executing a child.
It does.
That's crazy.
It is. Like, think about how different, like in the first one, you got that one shot of the kid going, "Mama!" And that's it. That's the only child violence that there's even close in this movie. And then what's happening in this movie? People are getting hung just for being associated with pirates.
Including a kid.
Including a child.
That's a crazy way to open your movie.
It's a crazy way to open a Disney movie, especially. I feel like this movie is pushing that PG-13 as much as it possibly can.
There's a couple moments in here where I'm like,
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Okay, gore.
Someone heard the review. Less Verbinski, more gore.
Yeah, I guess, right. I mean, the song opening up, I think it's, talk about, I mentioned how it has one of the all-time great endings. I think this is one of the all-time great openings to a movie.
It does. You know exactly what you're getting.
Yo ho, all together, hoist those colors high. It's everybody starting to sing, and the kid dropping the piece of 8. That's what he's holding, right?
Yes.
He's holding an actual piece of 8.
He's what? Oh, okay.
It's a type of currency.
It's an actual currency.
Gibbs makes a joke about it later because he's like, these aren't pieces of eight. It's like, well, they were too poor, so that's just it doesn't sound very piratey to call it, pieces of whatever we had in our pockets at the time.
Yeah.
So, but here we do see this, the old school way is coming to an end under Lord Cutler Beckett.
Yes.
And that means our stakes are real high.
I mean, he's trying to end a way of life.
You have to sip the movie's Kool-Aid a little bit because it's trying to tell you that like piracy is more about just freedom when we know in reality the golden age of piracy was a lot more brutal than that.
Very fantasized.
Right.
Yes.
So from here until the end of the show, just keep that in mind. We're sipping the Kool-Aid of the movie.
Yeah.
Piracy is more just, it's freedom to the max, right? And that's what's coming to an end,
Yes.
The East India Trading Company is coming in and putting an end to this.
He's making the world smaller.
The world's not smaller. There's just less in it.
Yep.
It's a great line, by the way.
It is a great line.
I think once again, like Dead Man's Chest, it sets up a pretty dark tone. In my opinion, though, unlike Dead Man's Chest, it maintains this tone. It doesn't sway. Now, you funny moments, sure, but I don't think it ever drifts to hearing whatever that music waltz was when they're swinging in the bones in the cages in Cannibal Island, right? Yeah. Like you get a couple goofy moments with Jack when he's got his like clones, the visions of himself in the locker, but
even that though, which is fascinating because it's like, wait, have they been there the whole time and we just haven't seen them the whole time?
Oh, like they're in Jack's head.
Yes. Yeah. It's just like, oh, is that why Captain Jack Sparrow is the way he is?
Right.
Yeah.
Great way to start the movie. It also gets you to know that like the pirate lords are coming together, right? Barbossa's back. He's going to be leading this charge. You get that great scene in Singapore. Awesome sequence in Singapore. Where him and Elizabeth are teaming up and Will is there and they have to save Jack from at World's End. And you also get that really great scene where you see that Beckett is controlling Dutchman.
Yes.
And the Dutchman's just laying waste.
Yep. Just destroying everything.
What do you think about this? I love that you don't see Davy Jones in that first sequence with the Dutchman.
I like it. I think so this one felt better to me. We're like in an opening scene, if that makes sense. Where like the last one, like you were just like, wait, I feel like I missed a whole movie. Like I felt like a little bit of time had passed because you had to be gathering all these people up and stuff like that, and then putting Jones under your service. I think that like where we come in on this movie is great.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah.
It's just enough.
The pieces have moved just enough, but not far enough where you feel like you missed something.
Yes, between Pearl and Dead Man's Chest, I feel like that we missed just way too much.
I feel like this movie really knows what it wants to be. I feel like it lost its footing a little bit with Dead Man's Chest, but Curse, swashbuckling supernatural adventure, super fun. Dead Man's Chest, it goes hard on the mythology, but it really lacks the swashbuckling. It lacks the action and it kind of lacks the adventure a little bit.
It's just set up.
But this, I think, has the best of everything. It's got some of the wackest moments in the entire franchise. I mean, Calypso growing to be this giant thing and then exploding into a bunch of crabs.
Yes.
Right. You have
the locker itself.
Yes. All of these moments are crazy, but this movie balances it all, in my opinion, perfectly. It knows exactly the type of movie it wants to be and it plays it well. What do you think?
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I mean, that it is, again, it's just a zany story. And I do think that it goes a little too hardcore. It takes everything from the first one and it is literally cranked up to 11. And I don't know if I like it when it's always cranked up that loud. Maybe I'm being an old man. Does that make sense that like the supernatural's turned up? The violence is turned up. Just everything is just turned up to 11.
I kind of agree with that.
Even the cheesiness is turned up to 11.
I almost think that fits Dead Man's Chest better.
You think so?
Because it's got like a similar, we talked about it last week, almost arc to the movie. I get what you mean though about like the central themes being cranked up to 11.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think the reason why I come away more hot on it maybe than you do, like because you clearly like Curse better, is because I love mythology anyway. Like mythology is just in anything. I love lore. Yeah. And not everything needs
lore. I'm a lore whore. You knock that off.
But in particular when it comes to like gods and monsters and all of this stuff, I really dig that kind of stuff. And maybe the kind of intersection between that and pirates just really works for me. And I think it comes together great in this movie. I did have a fun fact here from our friend Gore, from Mr. Verbinski.
Gotcha.
said that Curse was more of a character-driven movie. Dead Man's Chest was more of a plot-driven movie. And to make the whole saga work, he wanted to make the third film a combination of both plot and character. And I think that's why this movie works, is because he's absolutely right. The first movie is definitely a character-driven movie.
Yeah.
But so is this one. Dead Man's Chest isn't.
But cranked up to 11.
Yes, it is absolutely cranked up to 11. You're
Yeah.
right. It's definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But the writers did such a good job in this movie, I think, merging plot and character.
Yeah.
That's sometimes tough to do, man.
Mhm.
Like that can be hard.
I feel like that sometimes characters do come in and they exposition dump and then they're gone.
Yeah, give me an example.
Weatherby Swan, that like in that scene where he like says the offhand line about the heart, and that they about that the if you kill the heart or if you stab the heart, then you have to become the Dutchman's captain.
Really?
And like I get,
You think that that's out of nowhere?
I do know that's why he died. That was the information that he learned because
Yeah.
they said that literally,
Because he
like,
was getting too inquisitive.
which I like that, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't like. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm a little 50-50 on it. That I'm
Okay.
like, I think that's cool, but then at the same time, I'm like, did he have to die? Did he like that? Like, that's so crazy. But again, like the imagery in this movie is insane. Cranked up to 11, where it's like we're literally sailing and there's dead bodies going by because we're in the locker and Davy Jones isn't doing his job. And
Talk about that. What about that shot where the ship is sailing and it's the stars above and below?
yes, it's trippy. It's trippy. Well, I mean, even the imagery of the pearl sitting on the salt flat.
Oh, it's
It's
amazing.
just- dude, it's something else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, should we just bring up my next piece of 8? Because we're kind of talking about it right now. I have a little black pearl. And this is just to symbolize they really just don't make them like they used to, do they?
That's
I mean-
true.
What was the budget of this movie?
$300 million. And at the time, the most expensive movie ever made.
There is money on the screen. You could still see that there's money on the screen. It's insane. Even watching it today, that like I was just talking about it. The shot of the black pearl on the salt flats is absolutely insane.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
I didn't look into this, and I'm curious if anybody in the chat knows. Did they actually haul the ship out there to do that?
I'd have to venture guess it's a prop that they built like a hollow ship or something like that, or they built one out
Because
there.
I know they shot that in Utah.
I was wondering if it was in Utah.
They did. But
Okay.
the reason why it's desaturated was to kind of
Make it otherworldly.
disguise it.
Yeah.
Yes, but they shot that in Utah.
Huh.
I think this was like the perfect. We've talked about this before, and one day maybe we'll have to do a deep dive on just this topic. But
Yeah.
CGI was at its peak here.
It
Like
was.
during that 2000s. I mean, look at Iron Man that came out the year after,
Yeah.
right? Amazing. Like
Clutch.
And then compare that to Endgame. Great movie, but the Iron Man suits don't look that good anymore.
No.
Like CGI looked amazing here.
Mhm.
Perfect blend of practical and computer generated effects.
Mhm.
Amazing. And I feel like when movies, you hear about budgets like, oh, this TV show had this budget, this had this budget. Where's the money going? Like, where is it going?
It's
Because
true.
on this movie, $300 million, which was, again, at the time, the most expensive movie ever
Insane.
made,
Yes.
at least you could see why. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, it looked like it was an expensive movie. The set design, incredible.
Yes. And you could tell they're in real places.
Yeah.
They're in real
I mean,
environments.
talk about Singapore, man.
Yes.
Like when they're walking, like that battle in Singapore where things are blowing up and
Mhm.
like they're getting tossed around, all of that looks real.
Yeah.
100% of it.
Gosh, I love that shot when they're about ready to go in the tunnels and you see the Beckett's men like walking over. That feels like a video game, doesn't it?
Mm.
Where they're like sitting there hiding and stuff. It's like, dude, they're not on a green screen. They're in a real place.
Yeah.
They're walking through the water. Like, it's just like, dude.
What happened to this?
Doesn't
man?
it? Well, doesn't it just make you want to go make something?
It does.
Yes.
I know, right? This movie doesn't do
It's-
that to me like Curse does.
Yeah.
But just because I think it's because Curse is obtainable. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Oh no. Yeah. We don't have a $300 million budget. Yes.
Like I
but
feel
we
like
could
with
go.
some miniatures,
Yes.
you know, we could do some magic.
we could go
like
find
Curse.
a cave out in the woods
Yeah.
and we could fudge it to make Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah, but this
yeah.
movie, it's like it doesn't quite do this to me in the same way because I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about too, even like the imagery of the boat falling off the edge of the world?
Yeah.
Like they like,
Yeah.
dude, what the heck?
Or the Black Pearl spinning and then
Yes.
flying back up through the water. That shot, I love that shot when you can see Jack looks up
Mhm.
after the boat turns over
Yeah.
and you could see the surface of the water coming closer.
Yes.
And it just
Yeah.
rises up. That's an amazing shot.
It is.
It's
And I
so
even
good.
like, I even love the minimalist shot of him and the crab where he throws the rock?
Yeah.
And then it's back and he's just looking at it. And it's just like, is this what purgatory or hell would be like? You know, like it like messes with me where it's like, there's just nothing except the one thing you care about, but it's useless right now because there's no water.
Well,
But
I mean, the locker is what Jack fears most.
it's true. And
It's
I assume,
endless land.
yes,
And his boat on endless
I know.
ship. His ship on endless land.
Yeah.
That's it.
I assume it didn't remind me of like, it reminded me more of like a purgatory for him.
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Mhm.
that's what that is.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the set design for this movie, the art direction.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about that minimalist shot. The reason why that works so well, in my opinion, is because Jack Sparrow has such an iconic look,
Yeah.
such an iconic silhouette.
Mhm. And he looks odd in that scene
That's all
because
you
it's
need
so white.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like he belongs on the water.
He does.
You know?
And I mean, what do you see when like the next time you see him, he's holding on to the mast. He's doing that actually. You're not going to look at it. That's fine.
Oh,
he's
that.
he's doing that literally.
Sorry, I was just looking like because we just arrived at the locker.
Oh, okay, perfect. That's great. Anyway, but I forgot that it was even behind me. But yeah, he's doing that, which is a nice callback to the first one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's great.
Mhm. It's just nice to know that like some characters have changed, but some people are staying the same.
And we haven't even talked about like Davy Jones. And we talked about him last week, how amazing just CGI. When we're talking about CGI, like
I think
looks
he looked
amazing.
I do think though, I think he looked better in Dead Man's Chest.
Really?
Like especially that part with the claw. When he was like pulling, I was just kind of like, there it is. I thought I was just like, that was the one time that really stuck out to me that I'm like,
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know how you feel. When you know what I'm talking about? When
Yeah,
you guys
when he gets
claw
it stuck in the brig.
Yeah, that I'm like,
I actually
Okay.
thought I was looking for it because I wondered how if they improved in that first shot you get of him when he's over the organ.
yeah,
I
And
think
the
he's
tear.
much more detailed,
yeah.
especially when you see him during
He
that
doesn't
final
look nearly
act.
as wet. The rain's keeping him wet. I feel like, yeah.
Because in
as
that
a-
final act when he like starts screaming, like,
Yes.
Calypso, rah!
yeah.
I think it looks amazing.
Mhm.
The animation is great. Like all of his tentacles writhing all the time.
When he turns into Bill Nighy for that moment. And then like, it's just crazy where it's
Oh.
like, dude, you could see him in there.
I love
Like
that
with the
scene.
mouth and
Yes.
like how his beard and everything where it's like, oh, well.
And it goes back to that amazing art direction.
Mhm.
One shot of Davy Jones, a Bill Nighy, not as the squid guy.
Yeah.
And they went that hard with that costume. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Yeah.
one shot. And it's like, man, they don't do stuff like that anymore. Like you got the MCU, which I like it. Don't get me wrong.
This
but,
really, hey, this totally is a precursor to the MCU.
well,
though.
I was just going to say like in Civil War, when they had that amazing Spider-Man suit
Mhm.
and then CGI'd over the whole thing.
yeah.
And they do that all the time.
Yeah.
Where they have great costumes and they're just like, you know what? CG it.
Yeah.
Gosh, man, there's something about
Practicality.
dripping out in threads. You know what I mean? Like, and,
I get you. Yeah.
you just have to appreciate the artistry on hand. And
Mhm.
I think the last thing that comes with this piece of hate and this point, I guess, with the production design, the dialogue. And I want to make a comparison here, which, you know what? It kind of fits with the next piece of hate that I think I need to bring in,
Okay.
which is very piratey. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. I know what you guys are thinking. What are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing?
It's a sword. There's swashbuckling in this movie. Okay.
Not laser swords.
Give me a minute. There's something that this movie does, in my opinion, that is so Star Warsy. And I think might even make it the fourth best Star Wars movie out there. And you know what that is?
Bold claim.
It's the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
There's the rampant debate about Star Wars dialogue and how it's like supposed to be Shakespearean. And that's why it sounds goofy sometimes. People debate the efficacy of that and if it works or if it doesn't. I think it does work, especially in movies like Revenge of the Sith or in the original trilogy in particular. This movie does that. And it keeps it locked in a period in time. You know what I mean?
Saying words like calling someone a blackguard or a harridan.
Yeah.
No one uses that terminology, but oh my gosh, this movie does. And yeah, it makes me Google a harridan, a strict, bossy, or belligerent old woman.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have no sympathy for any of you feculent maggots and no more patience to pretend otherwise. Gentlemen, I wash my hands of this weirdness. Like, no one talks like that. It's
No one
awesome.
does.
It's so good.
Mhm.
And I think that's what kind of locks it into the genre and it locks it into sort of a timeless period, why these movies are infinitely revisitable,
Yeah.
like Star Wars, in my opinion. But, you know, it's not the only reason I busted out this piece of 8 right here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't the only reason this is the 4th best Star Wars movie.
It literally is Return of the Jedi.
It's literally Return of the Jedi. Come
Yes.
on, man. Like, you've got Singapore, which is Jabba's palace, the Locker,
Which Ewok Village?
Ewok Village,
Mm-hmm.
Shipwreck Cove. You could argue maybe is the rebel briefing, but then the
Yes.
final battle, the Maelstrom. Come
Yes. Feels a lot like the Battle of Endor.
on. Feels a lot like the Battle of Endor.
Yes,
it's got
you
a
even
very
have
similar
father
vibe.
and son fighting the devil.
Yeah.
I mean, guys.
I think what cements it the most is just that structure of like Return of the Jedi has, it's almost like a mini series. You have Jabba's palace, Ewok Village, Endor. Like, yeah, there's through lines, but it's dun, dun, dun. You know
like
what I mean?
like a TV show? Like how
Yes.
this movie could be a TV show?
It could be, but it's
I
not.
was
Just
I'm just throwing
just
it
like
out there.
Return of the Jedi shouldn't be.
We're just throwing it out there.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
But this has that definite, you know, we go here, we go here, we go here, and everything culminates into that final battle.
Yeah.
Because of the structure, I wanted to talk about one of the things that I think really, really makes this movie stand out to me. Guys, you know, fans of the show, you know, I'm a hoe for pacing.
He's all about it.
I can forgive a lot if your pacing's good. That's why last week, even though I know a lot of people were hot on Dead Man's Chest via our fan questions, but I couldn't abide because of that horrible pacing. This, on the other hand, it does move at a breakneck pace. It's a longer movie.
It's insane.
Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. Well, I paused it right before the fight. And I'm like, there is an hour left of this movie right as the boats are going towards
You
each
broke
other.
your immersion.
I had to pee. What do? I can't miss it. I
love the pacing of this movie. What do you think? You think it's got good pace?
I do think it's good. I do think it is slightly complex for its pacing, though, because characters are changing at a breakneck speed and their motivations are changing at a breakneck speed, where you really do have to be paying attention to stuff.
Gotcha.
Like I feel like that there is no, for lack of a better term, no dialogue left on the floor. Like, I feel like almost every piece of dialogue in this movie is important.
I'd agree with you.
Yes,
Sure.
for one reason or another.
It's difficult for guys like you and I because we have to hang on to every word for what we do here. Right?
Yeah.
Like writing stuff down and making notes and all those things. But for someone who's just sitting down to enjoy a movie, it's one of the things that adds charm to it, in my opinion, is that, oh, you know, you caught this time, but you caught this time. You know what I mean? Like, you can catch different things different times. Would it have benefited from a breather here and there? Maybe, but I think that it builds up so well to that final act that I would hate to jeopardize that. You know what I mean?
Well, and two, that like even trying to give the audience a breather, at what cost though? Your movie's already almost 3 hours long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Gore originally had it at 3 hours. He cut it by 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wonder what all he had.
I don't know. I mean, there's deleted scenes out there. I've never seen them, but
I was hoping that you'd talk about the Jack and Beckett deleted scene. That one's really interesting, but
is that the people aren't cargo mate?
Yes.
I have seen that because I was watching out for that scene. I was like, is this in another movie?
they just go more into detail about what Jack was
Yeah,
transporting.
because he was originally a privateer, but he wouldn't haul slaves.
So I like that and I hate it at the same time because, like, yes, it makes Jack Sparrow a hero, but maybe I need to realize that Jack Sparrow isn't a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
and
mean,
so
there's layers to it. I think
It
you could
is.
still be a bad guy, but you just draws the line at slaves.
it's
You know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah. No, I
Like,
get you. I get you. Yeah.
Anyway, I think the pacing of this movie is great.
But for my next piece of 8, not all the movies had great pacing. There's retcons with this one.
Lay them out for me. Give me your grievances.
I don't know how I feel about the pirate lords and then how Jack and Hector interact. Would you really maroon a pirate lord, even if you were really mad at him, on an island, especially when they're that important? How about the Kraken was such a big deal in the last movie for it to die off screen?
Yeah, that's one for me.
That Beckett just tells him, it's like, hey, I thought you would have learned your lesson when I had you beat your pet.
Yeah.
Wait, what? You had it beach itself like a whale? It's messed up, man.
Yeah.
It was an extension of Davy Jones.
Yeah.
Truly like the last villain for them to fight.
But like Jack, who considers his debt settled after
Yeah.
he dies in the last movie.
Okay.
I cannot punish this movie for the sins of its predecessor
Oh,
with the
okay.
Kraken.
No sins of the father, huh?
I was sipping your Kool-Aid a little bit with the retcons because you told me we were chatting a little bit about this earlier this week. Jack becoming suddenly a pirate lord, right?
Maybe it was kind of like an Elizabeth kind of thing. The guy died in front of him and then just made Jack a pirate lord.
I think it's obvious how he becomes a pirate lord. His dad.
You think that that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
His dad was probably one originally, and he's like, hey, Jack, you're my heir.
Maybe Captain Teague is just the bookkeeper. Who knows?
No way he wasn't a pirate lord at some point.
It's true. Maybe the king at one point.
There's not been a pirate king since the first Brethren Court.
You're right. Yes.
My main thing with the retcons, the movie expands, if you will, on a lot of concepts as the series goes with the compass, the idea that Jack is a pirate lord. I want to revisit for a moment the end of Dead Man's Chest. Tia Dalma brings back Barbossa kind of out of nowhere.
It's because he's in the locker.
But we didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
Right. Brings back Barbossa out of nowhere. Will, he wants the pearl, I guess.
Yes.
Does Elizabeth, she just feels guilty.
Yeah.
Like, why is it so important at the end of Dead Man's Chest to bring back Jack? The movie just killed him. Why is it so important to go bring him back?
Yeah.
So now let's take Dead Man's Chest out of the equation.
Yeah.
This movie does a great job of explaining why we need it. Jack is a pirate lord. He didn't pass on his piece of 8. Okay, we need that to free Calypso because that's the only way that we're going to get ahead on Davy Jones and the East India Trading Company.
Well, that's what Barbossa's telling everybody. It's more like that Barbossa doesn't want to die himself.
I do think Barbossa legitimately believes this is his only chance. Barbossa's crafty, but he can't beat the Dutchman.
It's true.
I think this is the only way he thinks that they could truly beat him.
Yeah, I still think that he's being influenced by the whole fact that he doesn't want to die himself.
But anyhow, I think that after I really got to thinking about it, I think that all of this does kind of make sense. And maybe there's not any retconning happening. Because if you really think about all this in the context of Dead Man's Chest, it does make sense why Tia Dalma jumps on that chance.
Yeah.
Because you have to assume she already brought back Barbossa because of this, right?
Yeah.
They've already had that conversation. With the benefit of, hindsight, you're able to look at her and think, okay, she's clearly just now manifesting her own freedom.
Yeah.
My main issue is still the Kraken. Why did they go back to Tia Dalma's hut in the first place at the end of Dead Man's Chest? What purpose do they have to do that?
Yeah, there's no point.
Do they get called back there? Does Tia Dalma's like, hey, I got a solution to your problem. Come back over here. It's not a huge deal to me. If you're going to set up the central premise of this movie with Jack needs to come back, do a little extra legwork. Tell me why Jack needs to come back rather than Elizabeth is sad and Will wants his boat.
Yeah.
Ship.
How about, okay, last one. How about, is it weird that one pirate lord sailing under another?
I would love a story sometime about how Barbossa and Jack came together.
Yeah.
Because Barbossa had to have lost his ship. Why does he love the Pearl so much?
It's true.
If it was Jack's ship, what made him love the Pearl so much?
Yeah.
Definitely not all thought through.
Yes.
100%. Let's put the retcons aside for a moment. It does sort of make Dead Man's Chest. I think it makes Dead Man's Chest a little worse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. So we're on our way to the locker, right? That's what all those retcons led to.
Yeah.
And you get just those amazing sequences with the map, the charts, up is down, the flash of green light.
That's cool, like actual lore.
Yeah, like that actually happens. From
yes,
time to time.
sometimes that does happen. And I think that's neat. Also, too, when the boat falls, you hear the ride. That's what that's quotes
White
from.
to Black. Dead men tell no tales.
Which is like touching the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And what a better place to do that? That our characters are literally like going to purgatory.
Yeah, traveling between worlds.
Yes, and you could hear that. So I just think that's so fun.
You get some all-timer great Barbossa lines, in my opinion, too, here. Whereas, hold on, I have one written down. It's not getting to the land of the dead. That's the problem. It's getting back. That's good. Find any place that cannot be found. You have to be good and lost.
Yes.
All that stuff is so just whimsical and fairy tale-like.
Well, it feels a lot kind of like the Odyssey a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. Sure. Yeah.
Where, traveling to the land of the dead to save your friend and fighting big monsters and just zany off the wall things.
For sure.
Yes.
I could definitely see that. So we've been getting close to that idea of like character motivations in this web, this tapestry of ridiculousness.
It is so ridiculous, guys. Go back and watch this. I'm serious. You don't know what anybody's doing.
Seth, what is it you want most?
That's tough.
Is it to understand what's going on with these characters and their motivations?
Sometimes. Might as well keep it spinning.
Well, I submit the next piece of hate.
Okay.
The ever-spinning compass of Jack Sparrow, which seems to indicate that all of these characters have no idea what they're doing. But you know what? I love it.
Yeah. Again, this is that whole, I think the first one, you don't know exactly what everybody's doing. Let's take that idea and let's just crank it up to 11. You just don't know whose side anybody's on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're all pirates. So it makes sense that they all should be willing to betray each other.
Let me present a case to you.
Sure, man. Give it to me.
All one needs is proper leverage. It's a line in the movie, right?
It is. It's a line actually in two of the movies.
Two of the movies. Another perhaps moment that can give us some insight is in the locker when Jack walks up to the Singapore pirates and he tells them, like, hey, who do you sail under? He's like, to the highest bidder. Well, I have a ship. That makes you the highest bidder. And I think that the best way to dissect this movie, because I was like you, when I was watching it first, I'm like, this is insane. What is happening? Mm-hmm. You're doing this for this person. You're doing this for this person, but now you're going back on that person. And now you're doing this for you. And now you're doing this for you. But now you want this. But why do you want this? And now you're going to do this. And now you want the pearl and you want the key and you want the harp, but you don't want the harp, but you want the harp. But you're going to stab the heart to give him his dad and give him the Dutchman. What in the world? And I think the best way is like, this movie is not about factions. It's not about the Navy and the East India Trading Company and the pirates. It's about individuals.
It's true.
And their goals. And sometimes those goals align with allies. Sometimes those goals align with enemies.
Yes.
And I think once you get that, it's a lot of fun to sort of revisit some scenes because it's like, okay.
I just don't like all the twists and turns some of our heroes decide to take. That's all. Will's a poop head, Connor.
Will is kind of a jerk. But
yeah. Who likes Pirate Will? No, I like Sweet Boy Will. I like Blacksmith Will. Yeah. Not poop head Will.
Will's kind of a jerk.
Yes.
That scene is a perfect example, actually. That scene with him, Beckett, and Davy Jones. You know what I'm talking about?
When they're drinking tea?
Yeah.
That scene's awesome.
It's an amazing scene.
Yes.
You know why it's amazing? All one needs is the proper leverage.
Mm-hmm.
Davy Jones should be killing everybody in that room.
He should be.
But he doesn't.
He can't.
He can't. Because none of those people are friends. None of them are on the same team.
It reminds me of that scene with Justin Hammer and Mickey Rourke's character in Iron Man 2, where they're sitting and eating. It's just kind of uncomfortable because Davy Jones shouldn't be in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I love the scene with the moment where he slaps the tea out of his hand.
Yes. I was going to finish that. That's great. Right? Isn't that what he says? Yeah. That's just
it's good.
So good. Yeah.
I love that scene because it perfectly shows how every other interaction in this movie goes. It's like Davy Jones should have all the power, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
Beckett then should really have all the power because he controls Davy Jones, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
Will, the lowest man on the totem pole, does because he's got information that Beckett needs. And because Beckett needs it, Davy Jones can't kill Will.
Yeah.
It's this amazing, this is why this, in my opinion, this movie is so great. Yeah, the action is awesome and it's all kind of great icing on the cake, but the character work,
it's crazy.
It's brilliant, in my opinion.
Well, again, it's like that whole, you got to pay attention to everything.
Yeah.
Because one moment, Tia Dama's like, hey, as soon as all this gets done, we're together, man. I'm going to be with you, telling Davy Jones. And the next thing you know, it's like offhand thing that we learn that Davy Jones is the one that helped the Pirate Lord seal her up in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's crazy where it's like, you have to be paying it. You can't take a pee break. You have to pause it. Yeah. They're like, it's crazy.
I think the best way to enjoy this movie, this was kind of that key I was talking about earlier. Watch this movie and only focus on one person.
Yeah. And then watch it back and focus on another.
Seriously, because this movie is kind of like a choose your own adventure. Really.
No,
because it really doesn't have a protagonist. I don't think. I mean, yeah, Jack is kind of the protagonist.
Kinda.
Will, kinda.
Yeah, because I was going to say at the end, it does kind of come back to there are heroes.
Yes, it's those three.
Will and Elizabeth.
But follow the movie with Jack. And then go back and follow it with Elizabeth. And then go back and follow it with Will.
Yeah.
Go back and follow it with Beckett. The movie becomes much more interesting because of how much there's weaving and webs going on.
Yes.
It's like a video game with branching paths.
Yeah.
You can play it again and again and again. And I think that that's really cool. How often do you see stuff like that? And to borrow a line from, there's a YouTube channel called Femento. I watched this video a long time ago he talked about, big pirate fan.
He's the one who does the little between his stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he mentions how modern day movies don't do this. It's just You're with the heroes. You're with the bad guys. Who has the bigger gun? Boom. Well, it's the guy with the bigger gun who's going to get it, but maybe the little guy's a little scrappy, and that's as complicated as it gets.
Yeah.
This movie is so interesting because it has nothing to do with Davy Jones having a ghost ship that can go underwater and he can phase between walls and he can't die. He's the lowest guy on the totem pole because everybody else has leverage over somebody else. And it's amazing how the writers are able to just pull on those levers whenever necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool.
I think it's neat too.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not taking that away from it.
It does make it complicated. Don't get me wrong.
I think it's super complicated. Again, back to they don't make them like this anymore.
I guess I want to ask then do you think that the complexity is a bad thing to this movie? Does it take away from it?
So I think that it is bad for what it's trying to be because it is a blockbuster movie. I mean, it came out on May 25th. That's Star Wars Day. That's the actual Christian Star Wars Day, not May 4th. So I mean, it is what it is. It's a blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
But again, how is a little kid supposed to understand what the heck's going on when they're watching this?
You right there. You're the problem. Right there. That's the problem? It. That's how we got in this mess. You're the studio executive. You're the guy who's sitting on, the big wooden table on his leather chair, smoking a stogie, and is like, you know what? A 12-year-old boy ain't going to understand this, Steve. We got to dumb it down for the kiddos. And that's why we don't get good movies anymore.
Maybe I am the problem.
You're the problem.
Maybe I'm the problem. My goodness. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on. Granted, the first time I did watch this was definitely at midnight.
Yeah.
Because that was when you could do that.
Here's a better question. How does it feel when you watch it? If you weren't prepping for the show.
Yeah.
I think it flows just fine. And if you really want to
you really have to be paying attention to it though, to be catching everybody's character motivations and everything.
Sure.
Yeah. Cause we'll get to it, but I think that's what screws Beckett in the end.
Oh yeah.
Is that he totally doesn't expect he expects everything. Yeah. Well, he doesn't, he just is like an outcome happened that he did not,
because he's a faction guy.
Yeah.
The Dutchman's under his command.
Exactly.
So when it comes back up,
he's like, why would it shoot at me? That doesn't make any sense. It's very Thrawn. Yeah. Like it's so Thrawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess to me, maybe this is our sort of, not that we're disagreeing too much, but our main sort of difference is I love the complexity of this movie.
Yeah.
I
think it's fun. I just think that it's like, I think maybe I am that guy, that it is slightly too complex for me.
I don't think there's any problem with that. That's why you prefer Curse.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I like this because it's complex and I like to sit there with my pinky up, with my teacup. No. I like that the movie is bold enough to not mind if you don't catch everything the first time around.
It's that crank to 11.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like that's why I know you were dogging on me about this earlier. This is why I like stuff like Breaking Bad. Yeah. And like Better Call Saul and stuff like that. And like, I know Game of Thrones is like this. I've not seen it personally, but like where you have all these interweaving, character motivations. And sometimes you don't catch things until the other next go around. Like for example, I'm rewatching Breaking Bad right now because I just finished Better Call Saul and I'm picking up on stuff that I never caught before. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I didn't realize that character did that right at that moment. That's interesting. That's going to matter later. Yeah. That's crazy. And that's what I think is fun about this movie is like, it can be, if you want it to be a mindless action adventure movie where it's just squid guys slapping metal sticks at this guy, it can be that. Or, you can really sit there and sink your teeth into some character writing. And I think it's cool that it gets to have its cake and eat it too.
I will give you that this one definitely feels like it is really character driven. And I like that way more than whatever Dead Man's Chest is.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with liking Curse better because of its simplicity. It's what I mentioned earlier with BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite.
Well, it's like A New Hope and then the other Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
A New Hope's simple.
There's something about that too. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong.
The first one's like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so is the first Pirates movie.
Well, that's what I meant. Curse of Black Pearl. It's like a fairy tale.
This is something we've even lamented on the show before about Star Wars is like, it's gotten maybe a little too complicated sometimes, right? And sometimes it's fun, like with Skeleton Crew, to go back to simpler times.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm definitely not dogging on you for that opinion. I was just curious if you found the movie more or less enjoyable because of its complexity.
Again, you just really have to be paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Like you cannot let your mind stray because when you look up, someone's on someone else's team.
Yeah.
Someone's doing something else.
Yeah.
Someone's being a poop head.
So real quick, let's just kind of speed run through some of the characters just so we can get an idea of where they're at.
Yes.
So Jack
Yes.
Sparrow, he starts in an easy place, right? He's trapped in Davy Jones' locker,
Yes.
abandoned by his crew. His goal, to escape the locker and
Mhm.
avoid both death and servitude to Davy Jones.
Yes.
And he's
But
interested.
go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, his ultimate goal is that he doesn't want to die. He's scared of dying. So how is he going to do that? He going to stab that heart.
Yeah. Then he
Yeah.
finds out later that really he just wants freedom. That's
It's
what he's been
true.
chasing, and he's been trying to find what that means every
Mhm.
movie. And I love how his story ends, where he kind of had it in the first movie. It ends in the same place where we meet him,
It's true.
on a little boat out in the middle of the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
ready for a new adventure.
Yes.
And sometimes, you don't realize what you have until you get to the greener pastures.
It's true.
Uh,
You don't realize that they're the good days
yeah,
until they're over.
Yeah, I know, right? Man. So he tries to, manipulate Barbosa, Will, Elizabeth, even Beckett. Those are great scenes. Talk about another scene where, there's crisscrossing power dynamics. That scene with
Yes.
Beckett.
I think that's why Beckett doesn't shoot either. One, the Dutchman's on his side. Two, he still thinks that Jack is
Going to live up to, he
Might
thinks
sti-
we're going to honor our agreement.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He might actually be part on his side still.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why. It's such a little, I love the little hymn on the cannon.
It's good. Yeah.
I just think that's such a tiny little detail. It's just that's such a Jack Sparrow
I was
thing.
reading that there was I don't remember the company, but there's a company that makes military miniatures that made that
Yeah.
for that scene. I think it's
So
pretty
good.
cool. It's really good.
And it just, but it shows that Jack doesn't care about him. He's gonna,
Yeah,
he'll blow him up.
Screw him in the end if
Yes.
he needs to. A lot of
Mhm.
great foreshadowing moments for sure.
Yes.
There's a lot of moments I noticed this time around where Tia Dalma is talking to Will like, hey, you're going to be the one to do this in the end.
Yeah.
It's pretty heavy handed actually,
Mm-hmm.
where she's like a touch of destiny. She
Mhm.
says that many times.
He does have the magic blood.
Yeah, if it doesn't matter anymore.
I know. I'm just saying.
I think that
Kind of the chosen one.
for Jack, go ahead.
No, I was just curious. So in the locker, we see lots of him. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, which I think that's part of the locker. But then when you're still in the locker, you see the two little ones talking to him, which I don't think that's the locker. I think that's just, they're always there. We just don't see them. Do you like that continues out throughout the movie?
It doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah, because again, you see them later in Davy Jones.
In the Dutchman's brig.
Yeah. It's such an interesting choice. I'm happy that they tried it. I just don't know if it worked for me. If that makes sense.
The way I interpret it is it's like Jack is now someone who has been to the land of the dead and he's come back.
Yeah.
And so that stays with you in some way.
Yeah.
And so this is the movie trying to show you how that's changed him.
Yeah.
Physically, spiritually, mentally, all those things.
And I think it's showing too that he can't use the compass anymore. He
Does at
has
the
to
end,
use
though.
it. What?
Does at the end though. Points to the realm and then it points somewhere else.
Oh, well, that's different. I'm talking about that throughout the movie, he keeps passing it to other people to try to get their motivations and stuff like that, because you see what's going on inside his head. He has two people fighting literally the entire time. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways to interpret it. As far as if I like it or not, it's not my favorite thing about the movie, but I don't think it overstays its welcome. So
Okay.
I can't complain.
I was
about it
just
too much.
curious that again, I'm happy they tried it. I just don't know if it works for me.
Sure. I do think everything you need to know about Jack is said in that line with him and his dad. When you get that great moment with Captain Teague, Keith
Mhm.
Richards, which is just a fun, just meta sort of knocking on the fourth wall thing.
Yes.
Jack says, what, you've seen it all, done it all, survived? That's the trick, isn't it? To survive? Captain Teague, it's not about living forever, Jackie. The trick is still living with yourself forever. And I think that's Jack's really wrestling with that. He's going to have to make choices. And if he's going to live forever, he's going to have to live with those choices forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of a deep concept about immortality, which this film has sort of been, all of these movies have really been talking about.
But it really pulls back to the second one with that conversation with Elizabeth,
Mhm.
where he's ultimately going to end up, where it's that moment's going to come where you're going to have to make the right choice, and you're going to do it because you're a good man.
Yeah.
And it's we thought we were going to get in Dead Man's Chest, but that's actually all built to,
Yeah.
she made the decision for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Dead Man's Chest. But in this is where that decision actually comes in.
I think this movie has really great commentary on things like immortality and the folly of it and chasing it. It's why immortality is more of a curse than it is
Yeah.
anything else.
Well, I mean, all of them kind of have that.
That's what I'm saying.
'Cause,
All
yeah.
the movies build nicely to these moments where Jack is,
Yes.
that's what he thinks he wants. Because in his mind, immortality is infinite freedom.
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. I mean, even Will tells him that. Like,
It's always a price.
if he's going to
If he
be captain
takes
of the Dutchman, he's like, you have to do the job.
Yeah, if you take the Aztec gold, I mean, yeah, you can be immortal, but you're not gonna be able to enjoy anything else.
Barbossa's kind of an interesting flip to this because he doesn't learn.
Mhm.
Where he's, with Teodalma, like, I want to be master of my own destiny. I forget whatever line he says to that effect.
Yeah.
There's more than one way to be immortal. And I give you the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, do you go through this?
Well, you
Come
kind of, I mean, but the middle is gone. Jack's totally looking for it too.
Which, again, is interesting how Jack, keeps teetering.
Trying to find ways, loopholes, if you will.
Your favorite character in this movie? How about Will Turner?
Poophead.
I think we meet him in a really weird spot in this movie.
Yeah, he's been captured already.
But what about that interesting scene with him and Sao Feng?
He wants the pearl.
I don't get why he's so hell-bent on saving his dad. Like, I get it, but I don't. You know what I mean? It's like, I thought there was some finality with that last episode. Like, I get why, if you had the means, why you'd save your dad.
I mean, he made a promise to him. I think that's part of it.
Maybe it's like he's bound by honor in that way, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, okay, this seems an impossible task.
Yeah.
And you have to give up everything with Elizabeth. And your dad seemed kind of at peace with you being safe.
And I think it's weird too that, like, buddy, just because your ship's faster than the Dutchman doesn't mean that you can overtake the Dutchman.
Yeah, I think it's
And-
odd too.
Yeah, that it's like you also need a crew. You can't just fight the Dutchman by yourself.
But doesn't Sao Feng promise him that though? A crew?
A crew, I mean, maybe, but still, like, I
Yeah.
mean, he needs an able-bodied crew, not just like, you can't just go with a bunch of randos.
So there's a lot of machinations with him and Jack and
Yes.
and everybody's weaving. Everybody's weaving,
Yes,
ducking and weaving.
bobbing and weaving.
Something I wanted to mention about Will that I think is really fascinating. So we talked about like the Kraken is sort of a symbol for Davy Jones.
Mhm.
The pearl for Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Norrington's sword is that for Will Turner in this movie.
It is. The
It-
cursed object.
Yeah, it stays like it's something he made, something
Yep.
that's personal to him. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful sword, well balanced.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up back in the hands of
Tang.
Norrington,
Mm-hmm.
who stabs Davy Jones with it. Davy
Yeah.
Jones then takes it as captain of the Flying Dutchman, and it's used to kill Will. At the very end, that's the sword that Will takes as captain of the Flying Dutchman. And so it's like that was his destiny all along in a way,
Yeah. That part of him is never going to go away.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about Elizabeth.
You mean the pirate queen?
King.
Queen. Sure. She has a really interesting journey in this movie.
Mhm.
It's kind of like Will, or I don't know if she's super likable either until the end of the movie.
Mm.
Yeah. How do you feel about her?
I like her better in this movie than I did in the last movie. I think
Yeah.
she sort of embraced what she is.
Yes.
I do think she has that problem that you discussed last episode that
Mhm.
she kind of just knows it all now.
Yeah.
She's kind of really good at what she's doing for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that confuses me a little bit.
Yeah.
But overall,
A little bit of time's passed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I don't know how I feel about that part where she's taking all the guns out. Like, I get that that's some funniness, but
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
goofy.
this is too much.
Yeah.
This is just too much.
I like that scene in Singapore where she's rowing in. That's fun.
Yes.
I like how she does become Pirate King. Her relationship with Sao Feng is really interesting. He thinks she's Calypso.
Yeah, that's it. That's one of those moments too that's pretty intense for a Disney movie.
It is, because when Barbossa gives her up, it's like, I don't think Barbossa
Realizes what's happening.
I think he thinks Sao Feng wants her for other purposes.
Yeah.
And he's just giving her up to appease,
Yes.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, another pretty dark moment. They play a little fast and loose with Elizabeth throughout all these movies, I think.
I think Elizabeth's mouth touches a lot of people like throughout these movies.
She does kiss a lot of people.
It's
Yeah.
insane. And it's also crazy how many she doesn't want to kiss. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just throwing that out there. Like, doesn't actually want to kiss.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not 100% looking back on that. That is not aged super well with these movies.
Yeah, I know. It is. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I do like where she ends up,
Mhm.
on the shore, raising her son
Yes.
with Will, coming back every 10 years.
I don't know
And
how that works with her being Pirate King, though.
They don't convene that often. They're pirates. It's all right.
Clearly, it's odd.
Yeah, but cool character. I like her journey for the
Yes.
most part. What about our friend Hector? Talking about retcons earlier. Do you know that's a retcon?
What, changing his name?
Yeah.
I didn't know that we knew his first name until he said it on the beach.
So in the commentary of Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, Johnny Depp jokingly said that Barbossa's name was Hector. The comment was misinterpreted by fans to be the character's actual name, and thus the writers felt the need they had no choice and included it in the franchise.
It is like super like off the cuff out of nowhere that he's Hector. Like that. Yeah.
I think
like
that's funny.
it. No, I think it's great. Hector Barbosa, like that.
I'm really glad that he's back. I like the little bit of character moments he has about him being worried about his own destiny and working with Calypso because he's like, this is the only way. This is our only salvo.
Yes.
But he kind of ends up the same guy by the end of it.
He does.
Which is fine with me.
Yeah. Well, you need some things. Everybody can't have this crazy arc.
Right. So the last character I want to just briefly mention here, as far as like these kind of shifting allyships and whatnot, is Sao Fang.
Yes.
This was a comment. I read this on Reddit because I was really trying to understand. Sao Fang was the only character I'm like, I really don't get what his plan is. And this is how the commenter put it. Original plan was this. Will betrays Jack to Sao Fang and takes command of the Black Pearl. Will uses the Black Pearl to save his father. Sao Fang betrays the Brethren Court and delivers Jack to Beckett. Beckett pardons Fang, and Fang agrees to let him keep the Black Pearl. Will gives the Black Pearl to Fang.
After he saved his dad.
After he saved his
Why
dad.
does he want the Black Pearl?
Who, Sao Fang?
Yeah.
Because it's a good ship.
Seems pretty complicated just to have a good ship.
It's a little complicated, but I think it's interesting how he thinks, before he's dying, that Elizabeth is Calypso.
Yeah.
And makes her captain.
And then passes on his piece of 8.
Speaking of pieces of 8, how many do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. We need 4 more.
Yes.
That was a beefy section. Hopefully we can get through this next one. What do you think?
We spent a lot of time in the last one trying to find something, didn't we? What was the... Yes, the thump. We were trying to find the heart of the last movie. And we couldn't find it because, in fact, it's in this movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
The heart of Davy Jones.
David Jones.
Because at its core, these stupid movies are love stories.
And I'm here for it.
It's awesome.
Yes.
I'm curious your thoughts on the mythological stuff because it does go hard on it.
Tia Dama being huge and then turning into a bunch of crabs.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I love that the first scene we get with Davy Jones is over top his organ looking at his locket.
Yes.
And you get a lot more with Calypso and Tia Dalma and what happened with them. And probably the most interesting thing just narratively, in my opinion, about the whole story.
As you said, like Will and Elizabeth are kind of echoing that. The Dutchman itself, along with Davy Jones's choices, kind of are a shadow over this movie. This is the path. Are you all sure you want to take that path? Because you all want to take it for different reasons.
Right.
Will to save his dad, Jack to be selfish, where it's like, but look what could become of you.
Well, it's like the first movie. The first movie does this really well. Like, this is the price of greed.
Yes.
Do you want to be immortal skeletons under moonlight?
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same things. Like, this is the price. This is the price of greed. This is the price of freedom, maybe.
Yeah.
It's the price of immortality, but even more complex. This maybe is the price of love.
Putting yourself out there, and maybe that other person doesn't put themselves out there.
Yeah.
It's sad. Like, and I just like, I guess I kind of get it because like Tia Dama's like, you love me for who I am. It's my nature. And she is essentially nature. Yeah. How can you expect nature to settle down?
She's the sea and you can't tame the sea.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you can't tame it. How could you expect it to settle down with you?
Exactly.
Because, I mean, she's flirting with Will. She's clearly been with Jack. She's been with Davy Jones. Like, I mean, you can't stop. Like, they all are in love with the sea.
I said it with the last movie with Dead Man's Chest, but the idea of the heart being such a thematic element here and how you need to give up your heart and how your heart can be tragic and how your heart can betray you and how all of these things, and you have to cut out your heart. I think that's so deep. It's even biblical in a lot of ways, you know, like your heart literally can betray you, biblically speaking. Like, don't trust your heart. And so Davy Jones literally cuts it out of him and puts it and locks it away, never to be seen again.
Because he's
Get
sad.
that infernal thing off of my ship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such a sad line.
It is. Well, no, like he is such a tragic character. Yeah. And it's like, I kind of feel bad for him in the end. Because I mean, he doesn't get any kind of like, he thinks he's going to be with his girl, but he doesn't realize that Will's told his girl that like, no, this isn't how this is supposed to go.
When the rain starts falling on his face after, and he knows it's her.
Yes.
And he just looks up and just lets it fall.
Yeah.
Calypso. And then just rage.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man.
It's good stuff.
And I actually really like the stuff with Calypso and that amazing scene where it's funny, but it also is really sad where
the claw.
No, I was going to say.
That makes me sad. Like it makes you, I think it's supposed to make you laugh, but I'm like.
Where he gets stuck?
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's just like.
I was going to say when they free her, when Barbossa says like, oh, I have to say this incantation as if to a lover. And it's funny because he's like, Calypso, I release you from your human bond.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have Pinto Rigetti, I forget who's who, but whispers in her ear very touchingly. And she has that face that, she's almost like recoiling from it.
Yeah.
And then grows. And she has this line and it's in French and it's slowed down, but here it is translated. If you ever wondered what that incantation was, it says, across all the waters, find the path to he who wrongfully entombed me. Because she's going to take this to Davy Jones because he's the one, as Will says, like, it might have been the brother in court who bound you, but who was it who taught them how?
Yeah.
Name him Davy Jones. It gets you, man. Like this has like surprisingly
it's very Romeo and Juliet,
surprisingly
almost
touching moments here. But it really is that cautionary tale to Elizabeth and Will. Like, hey, this fighting that you're doing, this not telling each other things and all this stuff, this could be you.
Yeah.
And I know it's really grandiose, but like that could be you. That could be me. Like look about your relationships.
Your decisions are important. So you better be careful because you may think it's a small thing, but it could rebound into something crazier.
Snowball.
Yes.
And before you know it, you could be captain of a ghost ship that's ignoring its job of ferrying the dead.
It's true. Or you could be a witch essentially living in the backwoods of Louisiana.
Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, whatever. But I'm just saying, but you also don't want to be a heathen god that's locked in a mortal coil.
Potato.
Yeah. Yes.
The love and betrayal, it's at the core of this entire trilogy, and it's made best by the themes of Davy Jones and Tia Dalma Calypso.
And what a good theme.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yes.
100%.
I like Davy Jones' Locket theme, but holy cow, I love Will and Elizabeth's love theme.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Hans Zimmer, it's good.
He know what he be doing.
Well, in this one, he does.
Yeah. That's one half of our villains. And as we lead up to the Maelstrom, we have one more.
Yeah.
The East India Trading Company.
Those jerks.
Another piece of 8. And that is with Cutler Beckett. As you mentioned, I think you kind of said it best. We don't have to linger on here long. He's Thrawn.
He is.
He's Thrawn to Davy Jones's Darth Vader, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like Davy Jones is that force of nature. He's the magical like wizard, if you will, out in the waters.
He's the muscle.
Beckett's got no powers. But yet he holds all the power.
Very Tarkin almost.
I love the casting of this character.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something I almost criticized last week.
Here's something
Go ahead.
Just about why haven't they gotten this guy back? Why is he not a Moff in The Mandalorian? Like, dude, come on.
He's great.
Why isn't he part of like the Shadow Council or
Tom
whatever?
Hollander, yeah.
Yes. Get him in there.
I feel like I've heard his name recently. Like he was going to be in something recently.
I haven't seen a thing with him in it. I even IMDb'd him. He's like never been it. Like, this is it. I've never seen him in anything else. He's great. Like, do this in space. Like,
this seems a silly thing. I like that he's short.
Very Napoleon.
He's such an unassuming guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he commands everything. The sea itself, because he's so smart.
I think it's also interesting too that he's not super clean shaven.
Got a little stubble in this movie. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
He's not sleeping.
The sea has weathered him a little bit. And I also like that he doesn't feel invulnerable in some of the scenes where like with Jack or with Elizabeth, like where people have got guns to his heads and he's like, I could die here, maybe. He doesn't feel like he's always holding all the cards. He's just placing his best bet.
Yeah.
And most of the time he's right.
He's got the proper leverage.
Exactly.
Most of the time.
Yep. Sometimes I like to call this the Joker effect.
Yeah.
Where everybody can have their guns to the Joker's head. And he's like, but I've got something up my sleeve, and he's never afraid.
Grenades. Yeah.
Beckett is a character in both of these movies where it feels like at any point he could lose, but he's just smart enough that he's playing the game right.
Yeah.
And he's going to come out on top. Except for here, he doesn't because he places his bets on the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the symbolism of how this is the end of an era, the end of freedom. And he's the chains that are coming in.
Yeah.
I really wish that scene wasn't cut with Jack because he is the actual chains coming in to enslave and taking away the freedom. Again, we have to look at the fanciful version of piracy here where it's freedom to the max.
Yes.
Right. But I think now it's time. We have all of our pieces in play here for the next piece of 8. I think it's begun to rain. What is that? What's your piece of 8 there?
Well, it's the whirlpool, the Maelstrom.
What's that from? That's cool.
Oh, that's what you. Okay, so this is from. I didn't know if you want me to get that dirty. So this is a pocket bottle from Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah.
Dude, sometimes I know it's a tangent and we're building up to the epic climax here. Super fun game. I don't know if anybody remembers this from back in the day. The Wizards of the Coast pocket model game.
Their last set was the Pirates of the Caribbean set, and it had all the movies. And
so cool, man.
Yeah, that like so you could run around and blow each other up and flip it over. There's little islands that you can go and steal stuff from.
So much fun. It's a really fun game. Sometime I'll have to play this on stream.
We should, because I've got all kinds of stuff for it.
We've had a long preamble here.
Yes.
Like the actual movie. We've droned on for a very long time.
I know. Hopefully we haven't been as long as the movie itself.
Right. I hope so. But now the storm breaks. The Maelstrom has begun, and one of the greatest final battles of all time has begun.
Yeah.
And I know this kind of breaks beyond the Dune Sea tradition. 30-second review of just this final act.
Okay.
Hit me.
Oh my gosh, you're just going to dump me on that?
Yep.
There you go. That's out of tradition too. They just dump something on me. Overall, I do like it. I think it gets a little goofy at times with Davy Jones, especially, where it's like, dude, you know your powers. Like the spinning where I'm like, that I think it's a little long, but other than that, I do like it. Again, you got to marvel at the set pieces. You have to marvel at the action that's going on. And I do think that Hans Zimmer is kind of playing some of the hits during it. And I'm not there for that, because I'm like, hey, those themes don't match those guys. Why are you playing the Undead Pirate song for the fish people? The fish people have their own theme. Play that. Oh, but you're trying to get me to realize that it's like, oh, I'm having so much fun during this scene. So just throwing that out there. It also feels a little bit like Lord of the Rings in the sense where it's like, dude, get rid of this heart already, because they're fighting so much over it. Yeah. But I guess there's your 30 seconds off the cuff, because I did not have that prepared at all. So there you go. Yeah. You're probably just going to be like, this is cinema. Literally, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to put into words why I like this so much, because it has everything that I personally love. Yeah. Like, this is so me coded. It's ridiculous.
Oh, maybe that's why you like it.
Maybe that is part of it. I don't know. Like, I love ships. I've always loved ships.
Yeah.
Them going around the whirlpool and shooting each other, like the lining up the cannons, fire.
I do think it's cool when they're like, we got to go deeper to get going faster so we can get against them. That I'm like, that's cool.
Dude, the swashbuckling on the mast.
Yes. The mast getting intertwined.
Oh, I've got the key and you don't have the key. I do have the key. No, you don't.
It's so stupid.
That's awesome.
Is it though?
Yes.
I'm like, why is he being dumb though?
He's not being dumb. They're in the middle of this whole thing and he's cocky.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because he just killed what's his face.
Yeah.
Sucked his face off or whatever.
Dude, you want to talk about insane.
That is insane. It's great.
Is absolutely insane. Like, how did that make it into the movie?
What do you mean?
Dude, that is like PG-13 of the PG-13. Like,
I do not think that's the worst thing in this movie.
Oh, shooting that one girl in the head in the beginning is insane that's in this movie. Yeah. But like suffocating that dude and seeing all the tentacles come out of his nose and his mouth and stuff like that.
I don't think it doesn't even feel like the top 5 worst deaths in this movie.
That cannon falling on that dude when they were rocking it back and forth. Rough. That's insane. Yeah. Anyway,
this scene, like I said, it's got the set pieces. The action is awesome. I think all those character motivations, that web, all comes to a head. Like all those threads come to a single point, and that's incredible when you can do that. That is such a oh my gosh moment when that happens.
I feel like they wrote this and then worked their way back.
Maybe they did. Maybe that's why it feels so satisfying.
Yeah.
This with the wedding, like that is so fun. That's so ridiculous.
No, it's ridiculous in a good way. Again, that's that live action Disney movie coming back.
This feels so ridiculous and so fun in the best possible way.
It feels like the first one.
Yes. And like movies just don't have fun like this anymore. Like getting married on a ship while you're fighting fish people, while you're going around in a giant whirlpool and your ships are sinking, and Jack is fighting on top of a mast with a giant squid guy for the key to his chest that had his heart in it. It's crazy.
Yes.
But it's awesome.
Yeah.
This is so cool to me. The music is hitting it crescendos in the best way possible. It doesn't fall at any moment. Like, we compared it to the Battle of Endor. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking a thing away from that.
Yeah.
But there are moments in the Battle of Endor where it's like, bump, 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 bump. Okay, we're going to hold for it. We're going to breathe.
Yeah.
We're checking in with Han Solo and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Go. Bump, 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 bump. Okay. We're chilling for a minute again. But it does that. It's almost like a stair step. This is like, whoosh, going right up. And everything that's happening, I think, is so much fun. It's so action packed, and better than all of that, maybe, it's done so well. I believe every second of what I'm watching.
Yeah. I think what also helps too is you get in a situation that, like how the first one is, with the guns pointed at Elizabeth, but then Jack shoots Barbossa. But in this, Davy Jones stabs Will.
Yeah.
I think that has kind of where the bad guy actually could
wins
win
a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about the silliness there for a minute. And I think that if it were to go on too long, I would agree with you, because it does get a little silly where like Jones and Jack are kind of going back and forth. But I think in a way, they're both kind of like, they're both playing they're playing chess with each other. Like, okay, what's your move? What's your move? Like, I'm not necessarily about to kill you because I don't know what you have planned. Like, I don't know what you got in the back pocket.
Yeah.
But then once all the chips are laid bare, once Jack has the heart, once, because as far as Davy Jones knew, he didn't have the key. Like, it fell to the ocean as far as he was concerned. And he stabs Will because he's going to change that status quo.
Yep.
You're a cruel man, Jack Sparrow. And then he takes it. And that's when, Bootstrap Bill comes in. Again, talk about all the elements coming to play. You need to get Davy Jones out of the moment right there. How do you do it without feeling goofy and have just a cannonball hit him?
Yeah.
Do it in a great character moment where Bootstrap Bill comes to the rescue of his son for just enough time.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, just enough time.
Yes.
But then it's not even over, because the Dutchman sinks part of the ship, part of the crew, part of the ship, part of the crew.
It's messed up.
The ship sinks.
Yes. And they somehow get out. I hate that.
You hate that?
You like that?
It's so fun.
It's so ridiculous. Like, what is he even holding on to? Is it just
the sail?
Is it just one of the sails?
There's a wide shot where it shows you it's a sail.
It's crazy.
Can't believe that. That's so fun. It is silly, but it's fun.
Is. I wish they could find a better way.
You like goofy musical numbers in Curse of the Black Pearl.
It's not my favorite.
But not flying away on a parachute.
Yeah, the parachute's a bit much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what do you think about she survived?
Yeah.
Then they both come in to face the Endeavor.
It feels a lot kind of like Palpatine in a sense. Beckett died because there was a future that he could not see.
Okay.
He did not see that the Dutchman would betray him.
Yeah.
He did not see that Davy Jones even had a chance of losing with all his men on there.
Yeah.
I think it harkens back to the first one where Norrington talks about positions and everything like that. That, we learned that Beckett is not a military man. He had no business being on that boat. But he got cocky and he went out there and he got himself killed. Yeah.
And like the Battle of Endor, as soon as Palpatine dies,
everything falls apart.
That's the end of the battle.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. That Gibbs is like, they're all turning around. I'm like, I guess it makes sense that if you're the guy who's leading the campaign's gone, then
it's not even that. It's that they don't have the Dutchman anymore. Like all those pirates are going to outmatch all of the Englishmen, especially when they don't have the Endeavor, that giant galleon.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
My goodness.
Like,
they're toast. It makes total sense why they all turn around. What a thematic way for him to die too. And this is another trope that I love personally. Again, when I say this movie is very me coded, I really mean it. I love it when the hero and the villain team up. It's one of my favorite things of all time. And the Black Pearl and the Dutchman, they're characters of their own. And when they turn and as a kid, I did this so many times with my little ships.
Yeah.
I have an Endeavor, I had a Black Pearl, and I had a Dutchman. The amount of times I had a bunch of these little pocket model things. I would set up one of these whirlpools. I'd do that whole scene and then
just recreate it.
I'd recreate that all the time where they would just go line up against the Endeavor. What a satisfying end to that character.
Yes. I love that shot of the guy falling into the flag in the water.
I think that's Beckett.
You think that's him?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's him. I don't know. I just figured that he's blown to bits. And
Could be.
yeah.
And him walking down, hugging the staircase, as the ship in slow motion splinters around him.
Again, as you said, they don't make them like they used to. Like, it's insane, the detail in this one shot.
It's just good business. It's amazing.
It's just good business. Again, he's a businessman. He has no business being out there and in that situation.
We have one final piece of 8.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've just about unbound this movie from its human physical bonds.
Yes, it's mortal coil.
The Dutchman has a purpose again. And it's not going to be...
It's kind of a bittersweet.
Yeah. Where it'll go, where it needs to go. His will is, he's bound to the Dutchman now.
Sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
But you know what? It depends on that one day, depending on how sad it is.
It's true. Well, it depends on how you spend that one day.
Depends on how you spend that one day.
Mm-hmm.
And where do all of our characters end up after this crazy ending, after this crazy movie? Will, we just talked about him. He's Captain the Flying Dutchman, Captain Turner. His dad decides to stay with him in a great moment, I think, where he gets to have that, he gets to have that moment with his dad, something he never had before.
Yeah.
And he's going to do the job. He's going to ferry the dead from one world to the next and visit his lass at sea or on shore rather, once every 10 years. Elizabeth.
Yes.
She's still kind of a pirate king.
Yes. Kind of.
She's a mom now.
She is a mom now. It's super bittersweet.
Barbossa gets the ship back, and we're kind of left with the same status quo from the beginning of the first movie.
Yep, he steals the ship again.
And we set up the next movie, kind of.
We do.
A little bit. But, I think it does it in a way that's not too, it still has finality.
Mm-hmm.
And I like where we is with Jack. I don't think it's quite as...
He ends the exact same way as the first one, looking at his compass and singing the same song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Kirst does it better.
Yes.
But I do like, again, thematically, where we're leaving all these characters. I feel like they're all in a place that they earned.
Mm-hmm.
For better or worse. Davy Jones, he's gone. He finally got to feel his heart one last time.
Yeah.
Calypso. As he fell into the sea.
To the sea.
Where he belongs.
Mm-hmm.
Beckett, gets his comeuppance.
To the bottom of the sea.
To the bottom of the sea. Something he could not control.
Yeah.
Despite as much as he wanted to. And all of the rest of our characters, they get off onto their new horizons. But
it's true.
And we're left with the trilogy that, gosh, I love.
It's great. Again, they don't make them like they used to.
They don't. I guess we'll leave with one final vote. We posed a question at the beginning of this. Masterpiece or sinking ship?
I think what it does well. So I can't call it a sinking ship.
Out of 10. If Curse of the Black Pearl's a 10 out of 10, where's a World's End?
8, 7.5.
Okay.
Right in there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think Dead Man's Chest is a 6.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
A hot mess, but you like it.
Yeah.
And now it's time to hear from the crew in the crew spotlight.
Part of the ship, part of the crew, part of the ship, part of the crew.
Part of the crew, part of the ship. Part of the crew, part of the ship. Part of the crew, part of the man. Part of the crew.
And welcome to the Crew Spotlight, where every week we put out a prompt, usually on Instagram, sometimes on YouTube, asking you guys your opinion about the topic of the week. This week, of course, at World's End. And if you aren't sick of us talking already, because I know this is a long one, we're gonna jump into some of your questions. And just a reminder, Artist Spotlight, been saying it every week. Once we get back to that galaxy far, far away, we're going to be taking a look at some of those submissions. I got a few in the queue, getting ready for when we get back home. So there you go. Instagram, email, send it over. Cool stuff you're doing. We want to hear about it. We want to share about it on the show. Without further ado, the crew questions. First up from Hungry Bookworm _. Elizabeth and Will's wedding in the middle of the battle lives rent-free in my mind. I love that.
No, I think that's Disney gets it back. There's the Disney that like the idea of something so pure amidst all the chaos. Yeah. I think that's so cool.
Tons of stuff going on, and yet they got time for that, and it works.
Yes,
it all fits together.
And we've said it a couple times that it's like this is the point of the whole thing. It's kind of like almost like a sitcom in the sense that like once they get together, it should be over.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Yeah. Marcus.Katie, just throwing out that I'd love to see you guys cover the other two movies. They may not have the same sauce as the first three, but there's some good stuff there. Well, don't worry. We've settled on it. Next week, We're going to be doing a live stream. We're going to knock both 4 and 5 out at the same time. I'm excited. I've not seen these in a long time. I have basically no memory of 5. I keep calling it Dead Men Tell No Tales, by the way. Do you know that they changed the name of that movie?
Is it Salazar's Revenge?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
There was an issue in some country. I don't remember. Like, so you can find it by both names, but I think officially it's Salazar's Revenge.
Kind of like a Philosopher and Sorcerer's Stone kind of situation. Okay.
So, because I was so confused, I kept seeing, like there's my recommended on Amazon because they know me so well at this point. I keep getting a Black Pearl model kit recommended to me.
Yeah.
I'm like this close to buying.
Yeah.
And it says Salazar's Revenge at the bottom. And I was like, what's that?
Mm-hmm.
I looked it up. And then,
sounds like a theme park ride.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So yes, we will be covering them before we head back home. It's going to be a lot of fun. So next week, live stream. It's going to be.
I was going to say, I've only seen those each once. So
I've seen Stranger Tides a couple times, I think.
Gotcha.
But I've only seen 5 once, and that was in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Cantina Talk, SW, my favorite Pirates movie. I'm with you there, Cantina Talk. I'm with you there. This is my favorite as well. Second favorite?
Yes. I'm curious if going back on it, will 4 or 5 sit better with us than Dead Man's Chest?
Yeah, because
because I have to venture a guess. Those are complete movies. And then the fact that Dead Man's Chest leaves so much hidden, if you will.
I think in complete fairness, this is something we didn't talk about during our main discussion. I think the Dead Man's Chest and At World's End are best enjoyed as a part 1 and a part 2.
Yeah, we didn't even really talk about the fact that I didn't realize they filmed those back to back, basically.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I read that as well. That a lot of the exteriors were all shot during Dead Man's Chest.
Mm-hmm. And I do know, I guess now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure at the end, like it was not long after we had a trailer, basically, for the next one or something like that.
It was they were 2006, 2007, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So I do think Dead Man's Chest is enjoyable more if you look at it in that way.
As a whole movie.
Yeah, because I mean, everybody's arcs is completed. I know we were dogging on Dead Man's Chest, but really they should be experienced as a 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, the movies aren't marketed that way. So that's kind of, you have to decide how you want to take it.
Frustrating.
Adam.c.gilbert13, who is your fave character besides the main 3? Mine is Sampaji. And so we shall go to war. That guy.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that guy's name. So besides the main 3?
Yeah.
I mean, Davy Jones is cool.
I was going to say either him or Barbosa are mine.
Yeah. Barbossa's cool too. I like Norrington and Beckett though too.
They're great.
I think they're both, these films have a really, really strong supporting cast.
Yeah. That's something I can't believe we haven't talked about that yet, but there's not really a miss in their roster.
Mm-hmm.
I know Pintel and Rigetti get a little samey and you kind of get tired of them, but.
And then what is it? Marta or
the other duo? I don't know their names. Yeah.
I don't know, but I like them too.
Blore on Mandalore, not a question, just obsessed with this movie. Thanks for covering it, guys. Well, I'm glad somebody else is obsessed with this movie because I feel vindicated for how much I love it.
Those lightsabers were pretty cool this week, right?
Dude, yeah, and that clip that we shared.
Yes.
Oh, dude. I know I joked that this is the 4th best Star Wars movie, but for real. Space fantasy. Pirate fantasy.
It looks really cool when they unsheath as lightsabers or as they become lightsabers. That's pretty sick.
Really cool. If you haven't seen it, there's a video out there. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean, but with lightsabers. And that final duel between Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones. Peak cinema.
It's pretty cool.
I'd watch that in the theaters, just a fan edit, to be honest. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Noah Bilante. So DMC is still best in trilogy for me, but this film is fun, bittersweet, but 100% bloated. See, I'd put the bloated in the other one.
I would too, because the whole why this one's so long is they have to finish everyone's arcs.
Yeah, and I think it works here personally.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was reading. I have since we started this journey, I get recommended the Pirates of the Caribbean subreddit a lot.
Oh, okay.
And I saw someone giving a review of Dead Man's Chest and how it's a masterpiece.
What do they talk about on there?
A lot of stuff.
That's wild.
Yeah,
these movies are so for lack of a better term, dead in the water.
There's a lot of discussion, but somebody had a Dead Man's Chest review, and it was so funny because they were talking about how it was a masterpiece because of Cannibal Island. I'm like, no way. It's funny, different strokes. So that guy
masterpiece because of Cannibal Island.
Loved it. Thought it was brilliant. That sequence, made the movie for this guy. And I just thought it was
Wild.
so amusing given our
Yeah.
review of it.
That we said that it was, that's the thing that killed the movie.
But hey, like I said, different
Yeah,
strokes.
it's
He
true.
actually made a point that you made about this movie, that it works as like a mini series.
Yes.
Like that's like a little episode of the mini series.
It really does feel like
Yeah.
a TV show. It's insane. I swear that this thing prepped the world for Game of Thrones because it feels a lot like Game of Thrones to me.
Yeah, maybe.
Mhm.
Bro Jason Wingard, Jack and Davy Jones acting like children during the final battle always gets me. I do like that.
I hate it.
It doesn't last that long.
I know, but it just still feels like, Davy Jones, this is your ship. Do something. But I do kind of like your little headcanon that he's like, he doesn't know exactly Jack's angle, so he's not making the killing blow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I don't know that I'd even call that headcanon, because as
Yeah.
soon as he knows what Jack's about, he
Yeah.
goes into lethal mode. He stabs Will.
Yes.
So I think that he's just trying to figure it out, and that's
Mhm.
why they're playing a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, if it would keep going, if it overstayed its welcome, I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't like it. But it's just a couple.
Well, it
moments.
also fits with too the whole they're getting married. It's just like, oh, Disney movie.
Yeah.
We got to remember that.
Well, it ebbs so that it goes into a little bit of a peak when it comes to like the lightness of the movie, so that
Yeah.
it can get really dark.
Mhm.
If your tone is just like this the entire time, now it can't veer too far,
Yeah.
or otherwise you become tonally dissonant. But if you want the really dark moments to hit, you need some light moments, and if you want light moments to really hit, you need some dark moments, and so it has to ebb and flow. Owen Anderson _4. I think for the series, it's a great ending. I do think it's a little long in some parts, but still solid. It's a long movie,
Yes.
but I think it doesn't feel as long as Dead Man's Chest, even though it is longer,
Mhm.
personally. Serg7, the opening scene has to be one of the darkest in cinema, most definitely in Disney. Yeah, opening the movie by executing a child is still a wild,
It is intense.
wild move. We didn't mention this, but I forgot during the main discussion. You guys notice that song? It's foreshadowing. And here, I'll read you the lyrics just to catch you guys up, and you guys hopefully will put two and two together. The king and his men stole the queen from her bed and bound her in her bones. The sea will be ours, and by the powers where we'll roam. It's Calypso. It's how the first brother in court bound Calypso.
It's about the brother in court.
I love that. I love that the movie has not only the thematic entrance that it does,
Yeah.
but it ties everything together with this awesome foreshadowing. I think it's really cool.
It is cool.
Christy _Manasa. I wish we got to see more of the Kraken in the movie, like how it died. I agree.
It beached itself, as anticlimactic as that would be.
Gabby about books. Mostly ridiculous, but I love it. Will's story makes it great. I do think he has a great ending. He does drag a little bit as far as his character arc goes, but
Yeah, the obsession with the pearl is aggravating, to say the least.
it's a weak motivation.
Yes.
Like he should have been more obsessed with controlling Davy Jones or something,
Yes.
which it does later.
Yeah.
But
I think it also hurts that whole like, everyone kind of has a job in the first one. And in this one, it's just like, oh, he's Superman or whatever. That it's like, no, dude, like it's only been a year. You can't be amazing at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I as soon as we get that tea scene, I think Will really climbs up the ladder and like a good character.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has kind of not unclear motivations, but just weak motivations up until that point, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Final question from J _Williamson 94. Would it have been a better ending for Jack to take over for Davy Jones? No way.
I don't know how you have more movies if that happened. And then two, the fact that like Dead Man's Chest set this up so well.
Yeah.
With the fact that like he can have the selfish way out, or he could save his friends and be the hero.
Yeah.
And he chooses to save his friends and be the hero.
It's the perfect ending for Jack.
Mm-hmm.
I think it brings everything full circle for him, realizing what he really wants, making the good choice, becoming a good man.
Yeah.
I think if you have him be Davy Jones, it really strips him of his hero's journey. Yeah, and I don't think that works, in my opinion. So there you have it. At World's End. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Masterpiece or sinking ship? We posed that at the top. I personally lean towards masterpiece. What do you think? Sinking ship?
It's definitely not sinking. That's for sure.
Just good flick is where you put it.
Yes, I was going to say that I think that it is a popcorn flick that makes you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
And I'm sorry if I ruined it. That movies need to be dumbed down more. I'm sorry if I ruined that.
No, I was just giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like we said at that time, it's okay to prefer the simpler.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to enjoy the complex from time to time, but both are good. There's nothing wrong with either path.
I just think that when they get that complex, it is a little hard to understand some of the characters' motivation because they're flip-flopping so much.
The reason I think I like that
Yeah.
is because they're pirates.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it is Jack Sparrow. I mean, that's so fitting of his character. But
It's just, you're following your own flag,
Yep.
if you will. So next week, same Dune time, 6 p.m. EST, we will be going live to cover the last 2 movies in this franchise, On Stranger Tides and Dead Men Tell No Tales, or Salazar's Revenge. I don't know the Christian name for the movie.
I think it's Dead Man Tell No Tales.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to watching those. Hope you guys will watch along with us. Pop into the chat and we'll have a really fun discussion about those 2 movies and, see if maybe they're better than we remember. Maybe like how we felt about Dead Man's Chest, thinking we were really going to like it. Maybe the opposite will be true here. Maybe we think we're going to hate it, but they're going to be awesome.
Hey, there's a decent movie in here.
Yeah. Hidden gem.
But
I don't know. We'll find out next week. So join us next week, 6 p.m. EST. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. Seth, it's been fun. Take what you can.
And give nothing back.